In this video, we will have a look at Android services. So if you go to the developer's website, developer.android.com, and you go and search for services, you can see that a service is an application component that can perform long-running operations in the background, and it does not provide a user interface. Another application components can start a service and it continues to run in the background even if the user switches to another application. Additionally, a component can bind to a service to interact with it and can perform inter-process communication. For example, a service can handle network transactions, play music. We're going to look at play music today, and perform file input-output or interact with a content provider, all from the background. So if you go down a bit, you can see there's the basics. There's a few methods that we can use when working with services. So these are the most important methods, and one of them is the onStart command. So the system invokes this method by calling start service, and this start service will call in the main activity when another component such as an activity requests that the service be started, and when this method executes, the service is started and can run in the background indefinitely. And then if you implement this, it's your responsibility to stop this service calling stop self or stop service. So we'll look at the onStart command. And then there's also the onBind method. You can read about the onBind. We're not going to use the onBind today. We're going to basically use onStart command. We're also going to use the onCreate method, and the system invokes this method to perform one-time setup procedures when the service is initially called. So basically before onStart command or onBind, the onCreate method runs. And then, so first when we create the service, onCreate will run, and then onStart command. And then when you destroy the service, the system invokes this method when the server is no longer used and it's being destroyed, and your service should implement this to clean up any resources such as threads, registered listeners, or receivers. And this is the last call that the service receives. So we're going to have a look at all of these methods, just not the onBind, because we're going to just play back some music. So it's going to be the onStart command. We're going to have a look at the onCreate and the onDestroy methods. And then you can look at how to declare this in the manifest and so forth. So we're going to have a look at the coding part now. So I've just created a new application. And in this application, basically the graphical user interface in the main activity will just show a play button there. So I've got two pictures there that I've downloaded, play and stop. And you can basically go and use any picture online. So just go to Google and search for play or stop button and use your own stop or play button there. So this play button that I've got here is labeled for reuse on Google. So we've got no problem showing this picture here. So basically what I've done there is this is an image view that I copied. And if I go to the properties, you can see that the ID for this image view is called Ivy Play Stop. And then the source is that play button. So I'm showing the play button. Just make sure to go and make this one clickable in the clickable property. And then I use the layout gravity to set it to center horizontal. Move the margin from the top 25 dp. And then the width and the height for this component is 250. So that's just how it will display initially. And then when we click on it, obviously when you start playing something, you click on it, the stop button must start showing. So this is what we've got there is the stop button. So the stop button looks like this. We'll also resize it a bit. And there's the play button, the one that's currently showing. So please just go to Google and get your own pictures there and see if you can use those pictures on an image view. So that's basically all I've done there is to just add this image view to the main activity. And then I gave it an ID called Ivy Play Stop. So now if you go to your main activity Java file, you can see it extends app compat activity. There's the declaration for the image view. I just called it Ivy Play Stop also. And then to that Ivy Play Stop, I connected it to the main activities XML file. To find the view by its ID, and the ID for that one is Ivy Play Stop. Okay, so that is setting up the image view. Then also on that image view, because I made it clickable, I'm now able also to set an on-click listener on it, so that when we click it, it acts like a button and it will go into the on-click property or the on-click method. So now the coding for this part, we're going to get back to this coding. You'll also see that I've got an audio link there. So this is just a link to a file for us to actually be able to play this file or this music clip now. And how I did this is to actually take any MP3 file or whatever type of music file that will work on your phone. So I've taken an MP3 file that I got for free on the internet, and I just placed it inside of my Dropbox folder. So I don't know if you guys know Dropbox, but that's a very nice service to use. So just go and create yourself an account at Dropbox. If you don't have one, you get 2 gigs of data for free. And basically what you do is you just drop in that one MP3 file there. And as soon as the MP3 file has been synced online, you can right click on that file and just say get public link. And that gets a link to that document in the form as this one that I've just pasted here. Just note that when you get that link, it will show www.dropbox.com. Just replace the www with a DL. And that gets you a direct link to that specific file for audio playback. Okay, so now let's start with creating our service. So in the manifest file, because we're gonna play music directly from an internet location, I'm gonna say users permission, and I want to use the internet there. So that's very important that you place that one user's permission there. It's not a dangerous permission, so we don't need to handle that permission encoding, but it must be in the Android manifest file. Then the next part that we need to do is to actually go and add your service. So how do we add a new service? Just go to your project folder, or not to your project folder, to your package folder there, right click, say new, and you're going to go down to service, and you can just use a normal service there. We're going to call this one my play service, just to create the service. I'm not going to check export it there, but it must be enabled. And then your service gets created. So now if you go to your Android manifest file, you can see that there's the service, there's the name of the service. It's enabled, true, and exported false, whatever. And if you go back then to your my play service, you can see that we've got the onBind method there already. So let's just add a few other methods there as well. So I'm going to go to code override methods, and we'll use the onCreate method there. And then I'll also use, let's just go to code override methods. We'll also use the onStart command method. And then, yeah, I don't know, this auto-generated method is giving a problem here. I don't know what's the problem there, but just remove that part there so that you only have this, then it should be fine. And then after the onStart command, we also have the onDestroy method. So that's the methods that we looked at on the website as well. So basically the method that runs first when you start using the service will be the onCreate and then onStart command. And then when you stop this service, it goes to the onDestroy method. Okay, so now this service of ours will be a special type of service where we will actually play back music. So for this service to play back music, we need to implement a few interfaces. So we're going to say implements, and the first one there will be media player and the first one will be the onCompletion listener. So let's just go to onCompletion listener. That's one interface that we're going to implement. And remember, we can implement more than one interface. So just put a comma there and let's add another one there. It's going to be media player and the next one will be onPrepared listener. And then just put a comma again. I'm just going to go to a new line there so that everything just stays on the screen. And after the onPrepared listener, let's use the onError listener. So that's android.media.mediaPlayer, onError listener. And then let's go to the onSeek complete listener. That's also one we're going to use there. Then there's an onInfo listener, that we must implement there. There's also an onBuffering update listener. Let me just go to a new line for that one as well. And then if you click on it and you say Alt-Enter there, you can say implement methods. And then it gives you the onBuffering update method, onCompletion method, the onError, the onInfo, the onPrepared, and the onSeek complete methods. So just click OK there and it implements all of those methods automatically for you. Okay, so now let's add a few declarations at the top after all those implements. So these are all of the interfaces that we're going to implement while using this service to play back music. If you're using this service for anything else, you will probably not have these implements there. Okay, so One variable that we're going to use here is the media player itself. So we're going to say private media player of android.media, and we're going to call this one media player as well. And we're going to set up the media player now in the onCreate. So remember, the onCreate method is the method that you use to set up everything before you go into onStart command, which actually runs the service. So before we carry on, let's just add a few more variables here. So the next one I'm going to use here is the link. Now remember, we've got the link in the main activity. So I'll show you how do we pass this link then to your service, and we can use it then. So that's going to be the link. And for the rest, we're going to get to the rest of the declarations as we carry on. So now let's go into the onCreate method quickly. Now in the onCreate, we're going to set up that media player. So I'm going to say media player equals new media player. And then there's a few listeners that we need to set up, and it's basically these that we've implemented now. So we're going to set an on, let me just start from the top there, the on completion listener. And then we're just going to pass in this because we said implements on completion listener, which means that this service is a on completion listener. That's why I can just pass in this there, and it will go to the on completion method if that needs to run. Okay, and then the media player, we're going to also set, so if you go to the top there, the next one is the on prepared listener, and we're going to also pass in just this. And then again, media player dot set on, the next one is the on error listener, and also just going to pass in this there. And then also media player dot set, after the on error, we've got to do the on seek complete, on seek complete listener. Then again, dot set, after the on seek, it's the on info listener, also just passing in this. And then on the media player object again, dot set, and then it's the on buffering update listener, on buffering update listener. And we're also going to pass in this. Okay, so that's basically what we need to set up. We made a connection to the media player, and then we set all of these listeners to the media player. Now in the onStart command, remember the onStart command runs directly after your onCreate. So after setting up the media player, we can now start playing the music. So I'm going to say link equals, and now I'm going to get the link from the main activity. In the main activity, we will start the service with an intent, and with that intent, I'm going to pass through this audio link. So you'll see the onStart command gets back an intent there. What am I doing now? Let's just go back there. So the onStart command gives us an intent object there, and that intent object will be the intent that started this specific service. So now, using that intent, I can get back data, and I'll get back to this one on how do we get actually that specific link there, because we still need to use a put extra method on an intent to pass through this. So we'll get to that one, and I'll explain that again. But basically, to get the link, I'm going to say it's equal to intent dot get string extra, and then I'm going to call the data audio link. Remember, this get string extra basically works as a key value pair that you pass in. Sorry, not audio line, audio link. So I'm going to get the audio link from the main activity, and then it will be displayed or will be saved in link. So I'll show you now when we get to the main activity, how do we send it through this side. But this is how we will get it. We get to the intent that we're going to pass through to here, get the data called audio link, which will be this link that we're passing through. Okay, so that link is basically just this link that we've got there. Then just before we use the media player, we're going to say media player dot reset. Let's just say reset. Now, if you look at the reset method, if you hover over it, you can see it resets the media player to its uninitialized state. And after calling this method, you will have to initialize it again by setting the data source and calling prepare. So for now, we should set the data source there. So the first thing we'll need to do is to first go and test if the media player is not playing. So we're just going to call the isPlaying method. So if the media player is then not playing at the start of this specific run of the service in the onStart command, if it's not playing, then we're going to try and start this to play. Okay, so we're going to have a try and a catch block there, and let's catch a normal exception for now, and we can change it afterwards. So the media player, we just test if the media player is not playing, what do we want to do? So now we want to set the data source. Remember what the reset method says, we should set the data source and then call prepare. Okay, so we've got the media player there. Let's call the set data source, and the data source will be this link that we pass through. So that's our data source. It comes from that Dropbox file called this one there. That's our link. That's our data source. We're going to play the MP3 file directly from there. Then we're going to call media player dot prepare. Now you can see there's a prepare method and there's a prepare async method. So if you hover over the prepare async, you can see it prepares the player for playback asynchronously. And after setting the data source and the display surface, you need to either call prepare or prepare async. For streams, which we are going to do, you should call prepare async, which returns immediately rather than blocking until enough data has been buffered. So that's what we want to do. We want to stream that music, so we need to call prepare async. So then we catch the exception there. Now, if you want, you can catch this illegal state exception, which will also work there, but it doesn't really matter for this example now. So we're going to have an error there. And then I'm just going to show e.getMessage if there's an error, and we can show the exception if something happened. And then when we return now, it's actually a weird return statement here. It's going to be start sticky. Now, if you hover over it, let me just scroll up a bit there. If I hover over it, you can see this is a constant to return from onStart command. If the service process is killed while it started, after returning from the onStart command, then leave it in the started state, but don't retain its delivered intent. Later, the system will try to recreate the service because it is in the started state. It will guarantee to call the onStart command after creating the new service instance. And if let's go back there. If there are not any pending start commands to be delivered to the service, it will call this with a null intent. And then you can see there the bottom part says this mode makes sense for things that will be explicitly started and stopped to run for arbitrary periods of time, such as a service performing background music playback. Okay, so because we are using background music playback, we should return start sticky. Okay, so this is the onStart command method. That's all we're going to do. Basically, the service will just playing or start playing this. If it's not playing, we will actually start setting the data source and start playing the music. Right, so now the next part is to go to the onCompletion. Basically, onCompletion listener will run this method as soon as your music has stopped playing. So in the onCompletion listener, there's a few things that we want to do here. So you can see there's the media player object. It's passed through as an MP there. So I'm going to call that or use that variable there, MP, which is the music player or the media player. And we're going to test if the media player is playing at this stage and it completes. I'm just going to say mp.stop, which will stop the whole thing from playing. And then afterwards, after we completed playing this specific music file, we need to stop this specific service. And this you can do by just calling stop self, and it will stop this service from running. So because we're only playing we're using this service to only play one song, as soon as the song is done playing, we stop it and we stop the service from running by calling stop self. Now the next method that we're going to quickly have a look at is the onError method there. So there's the onError method, and we can keep that return false there. So in the onError method, if something happens while running or while playing the music, there's an error code that we can have a look at. So you can see there's the media player was passed in, and then what is the error, what happened there. So I'm going to pass in the what there, which is the second argument integer. And then there's a few cases that we can test for. So the first one is from the media player class, and it's called media_error. Maybe we need to go to media player first, media player dot media_error underscore not valid for progressive playback. So that's one of the errors that can occur. And we're just going to show the toast there. I'm just going to show this whole error message there, just to show what happened there, and maybe just go to a new line, and then we can break. So that's one error that can occur. Another one that can occur is when the server died. So it's media, let's just go underscore error server died. That's another one that can happen. If your server is just not working anymore, something happened with the server, we can't play back that file or the link to that file, and then we break again. Another case there could be the media error unknown. There's an unknown error, don't know what the error is, and so forth. So you can keep on running through these errors and see if you can catch all of these errors there. I'm just going to copy it, paste it there, media error unknown, and then we can break again. So these are some of the errors that we can catch then. If there's an error, we can just show a toast to the user. This is what happened, an error occurred, and then you can redirect him doing something else or whatever you want to do. Now, in the onDestroy method, if we want to stop basically playing the method or playing the music, and on completion is run, and we call stop self there, it will automatically go to the onDestroy method, and now we need to release some resources or whatever you want to do in your onDestroy. So in this method, I'm going to test first again, if our media player object is not equal to null, we know we still got a connection to the media player, as basically when we call onDestroy, when we call stop self there, when we're done with the whole process and we stop it, it goes to onDestroy. And now we want to make sure, is there still a media player object running in the background that uses up resources? And then at the same time, if it's not null, it means the media player is still active. So now we need to test, is it actually still playing? So we're going to call if media player dot is playing. If it is playing now, when we want to destroy this service now, then we should stop that media player from playing. So we're going to say media player dot stop, and that will stop the media player from playing. And then after that if statement, then we're going to say on this media player, we're going to call release. So now if you hover over release there, you can see it releases the resources associated with the media player object. It's considered good practice to call this method when you're done using the media player. So it just releases all of the memory it used. So remember, the onDestroy method runs when I call stop self, but also in the main activity, I can call stop service, which will also call onDestroy. And then onDestroy means if I go to my activity and I'm using the play button to play, and now I decide to stop it. So if I click the stop button, it will also then go to, or we can call stop service, which will also go to onDestroy, checks if the media player is still active. Yes, it was. Is it still playing? Yes, it is still playing. So we stop it first, and then we release all resources. Okay, so now the next part that we're going to do is to go into the main activity now, because somewhere we must actually start this service. So I'm going to go to the main activity. And in the main activity, remember, we just made a link to that image view. And I'm going to declare a few variables here at the top also. We'll have a Boolean variable right at the top that's going to say music playing. And we're going to use this variable to change the whole time whether we're playing music or not. So I'm going to start off with music playing equals false. Now we already have the audio link there. And the next part, or the next thing we need there, is an intent. So I'm going to call this one, it's just a normal intent, but I'm going to call it service intent. This is the intent that we'll use to launch the service. Now if we go down after initializing the image view there, we can go to that image view just to make sure, and we're going to set the background resource. And to set that background resource, we're just going to go to r.drawable.one of the pictures that we use there. So it's in the drawable folder, and I want to use the plain one right at the start. So just to make sure that the plain one is, when we launch this activity again, whether it was taken away or whatever, we set it to play right at the start. So the play picture will show at the start. And let's set up that service intent. So that service intent will be a new intent. And then the first argument will just be the context. So you can either say main activity.this, or or just pass in this there if it's going to work, or get application context or whatever you want to do. And then we're going to call the myPlaceService.class. So you can see that by just saying service intent equals new intent, this comma myPlaceService, just like you would do any other activity to start a specific activity. But now instead of calling start activity, we will call start service. So the intent stays the same. Right, so let's go to the method now. So if the user then clicks on the play button, then we want to first check if the button gets clicked, because this button can get clicked whether it's playing or not. So if it's playing and we click on it, it should show the play button. If it's not playing, like right at the start, it's going to show the play button. And when you click on it, it should start playing the music, and then it should also show the stop button. So let's just go into the main activity. So there's two ways that it can actually run this one. It's when it's already playing or not playing. So the first one I'm going to check is if the music is not playing. So obviously at the start, we set this variable to false, which means not false is true. So the very first time you run this thing, it will go to this specific if statement. And then we're going to call a method, play audio, which we're going to set up now. I'll show you now how to do that method directly from here. So we're going to call a method play audio to start that service basically and start playing the audio. And then we're going to say to that IV play stop, we're going to set the image resource to r.drawable dot, and now we're going to say stop there. So now if at the beginning when we run it, it's going to show the play button, but when I click it, it should start showing the stop button. So that's what I said there. And then we're going to set music playing to true, because now the music is playing. So what will be the else part then? The else part will be if the music is playing when we click it, then it means when I click it, it should show the stop button first. And then if I click on the stop button, it should start showing the play button again. So then we're going to say stop. Let's call this method stop play service. We're going to create that method now. And we're going to say IV play stop dot set image resource. Come on. There we go. Set image resource, and the image resource will be r.drawable.play again. And then we're going to say music playing should be false again. So I hope you understand the logic here. So if the music is not playing right at the start, it shows the play button. So if you click on the play button, it should start playing the music and set the picture to the stop button. And if you click on this button and it's currently music is currently playing, it is automatically showing the stop button then. So when we stop the music from playing, set the button to the play button again, and then set music playing to false. Okay, so that's basically what we do in the button, or when we click on that button. Okay, so now after this, let's just go and create these two methods, or actually after the onCreate method, which will be outside there. So we're going to hover or just click Alt Enter, and it says create the method, and I'm going to say inside of the main activity, and on that one also Alt Enter. Let's just enter there. So on that one again, Alt Enter, create the method, main activity, and just click again. So there's the two methods now. So let's start with the play audio method. So now in the play audio method, we're going to use that service intent now. And to that service intent, remember this service intent will be used to start the myPlaceService class. And remember in the myPlaceService, in the onStart command, we said intent.getStringExtra. So now in the main activity, let's just see how to pass through this audio link now. So to pass through the audio link, I'm going to say service intent.putExtra. And then I'm going to give my data a name. So it's going to be audio link. And just make sure, because this name that you give it here, I'm just going to copy it here, must be the exact same name that I'm retrieving there. And I'm going to paste it there just to make sure the two are the same. Okay, so that's the name of the data, and the data itself will be this audio link that we declared there at the top. So I'm going to say audio link. And that's how I send through data then from the main activity to the play service as soon as I start the service. Then we'll start the service, but we'll do this in a try catch block. So if there's something that goes wrong with starting this specific service. And this one will be a security exception. And I'm just going to use a toast there to display the exception, error, and then e.getMessage again. Right, and now we can start the service. So we're just going to call start service, and you can see that start service method accepts an intent. And the intent we called service intent. And that will start your service. And you can see no problems there because the start service, if you hover over it, just go up a bit. If you hover over it, you'll see right at the bottom it says there, this one can throw a security exception, and that's the exception I tried to catch there, if there's any security exception. So in the play audio then, we just basically pass through the audio link. That's the one at the top. And how do we retrieve it the other side? We call start service here, which sends through the service intent. That service intent starts the myPlay service, and in the myPlay service, in onStart command, there's the intent. And on that intent, I call getStringExtra. This side I said putExtra, so the other side getStringExtra, and that's the name of the data, and it will retrieve the audio link. Okay, so that's playing the audio. Then to stop the service from playing, remember we're going to click the button to stop it from playing. So what do we want to do if we click then the button to stop playing the music? So very easy also. It's also going to be a security exception that we're going to catch here. So let's just do a simple try catch block there, and it's also a security exception. And I'm also going to show that toast, error, e.getMessage. And the only thing we need to do here is to call stop service. And then you can see it wants an intent name again. So I'm going to stop that service, and that service is defined inside of service intent, which means it will stop the myPlay service. Okay, and then if you call stop service there, where's it going to go here inside of the service? It will automatically call on destroy. It will check if the media player is still active. Is it playing? If it is, it's going to stop it and then release all memory. Okay, so that's the stop service. So you start a service by calling start service, and you can stop the service by calling stop service. Okay, so let's see if this one runs now. I'm going to run it quickly. Okay, so now my application is running, but actually nothing happens when I play and stop because I forgot about one part, and that's the onPrepared method. So in your onPrepared method in your myPlay service, we need to basically start playing. So we're going to say, you can see there's the media player MP. So we're just going to say there, if this media player, and I'm just going to put a not there. If it's not playing, then we will start playing it. So then we're going to just say media player dot start, and that will start the media player. So let's just run this application quickly and see if it runs correctly. Okay, so let's just see if we click on it now, if it starts playing. Now, it depends on your internet connection, how long it will start, or after how many seconds will it start playing, because this is streaming the music now. So let's just see how fast this happens. Okay, so there you can hear it start, the music starting playing. So now, if I want to stop the music from playing, you can see now the stop button started showing. If I click on it, you can see it stops the service, and then I can click again to play it. And I want to show you something now, because if I click on play again, and it starts playing the music again, we can go and have a look at if I leave the song to play through the end. It's not a very long song. Is it going to actually stop this automatically? And I've got a very bad internet connection right now, so it takes quite a while for this thing to actually start playing. Okay, so there you can hear the music start playing again. So I'm going to leave the music now to basically run through the whole music clip, which is only a few seconds, and see if this actually changes now. So you can see there the music clip stopped, but my stop button is still showing. It's not showing the play button. So I think it's clear now to see if I click on stop, it starts showing play. And if I click on play, it will start the service. If I click stop again, it will stop the service. But what if we leave the music to play and we come back to the main activity to play something else, then the play button should show again. So in order to do that, we must basically, from the My Play service, when it gets to completing your music, just before we call stop self, we must update the main activities user interface. So how do we do that? And that's the last part for this video. So in order to do that, I'm going to create a new Java class, but it's not going to be a class. I'm going to change that now to an interface. And let's just call this one music stopped listener. So we're going to create our own interface there. Let me just see there, we can choose an interface there. So the kind is an interface, and we're going to say OK there, and there you can see your interface. So it's called public interface music stopped listener. And then I'm going to have just one method called void, and let's just call this one on music stopped. And that's the method that every class that implements this interface must have this method called on music stopped. Now in the main activity, we're going to let our main activity, it extends app compat activity, and I'm going to say implements, and I want to use that interface now. So it's the music stopped listener, and then you'll see it must have that method. So I'm going to use Alt Enter there to implement the method, and we want to have that one method there, and there's the method at the bottom. So this is the method that will be called as soon as the music gets stopped. So we're going to go to the My Play service now and see how we implemented that side. So from My Play service, if we call on music stop, then we're going to say on that Ivy Play stop, the image view, we're going to set the image resource to r.drawable, because now it's stopped playing again. So we want to start showing the play button again. And then after this, we're also going to set music playing to false again, because now the music has stopped. So that's the only implementation we need in the main activity. So let's go to My Play service quickly. And right at the top, we'll have a variable there. And we're going to call this one private music stopped listener. And then let's just call this one music, let's just call it, music stopped listener, that's fine. And I'm also going to use a context variable there just to get the main activities context inside of, I'm just going to use the import class there. I need to have the context inside of the My Play service, the main activities context. So in order to do that, I'm just going to quickly create another class there, and I'm going to call this one the application class. And that's the application class is basically the class that runs right at the start before your application even starts. So I'm just going to have an onCreate method there. Sorry, let me just go into, let's just say extends application first, and then it will have an onCreate method. Just go to, yes, there's the onCreate method. Right, and then inside of this class, I'm going to have a static variable here that I'm going to use. So I'm going to say public, let's just call this static, and it's going to be context. So I'm going to say context, Alt Enter for your import, and I'm going to call it context as well. Okay, so that's the context. And now in order to make this application class actually to be an application class, you need to go to your manifest, and in the application tag somewhere there, you just need to have the Android name property there linked to your application class, which is that one. So that's the name of my application class, and there's my application class. So I'm basically saying in the application tag, this is the class that should run right at the start of my application, setting up some static variables or whatever you want to do. In this case, I'm setting up a context variable there. And then inside of the main activity, we can just set up that context variable quickly. So as soon as my onCreate starts there, somewhere there, we can just go and say on the application class, there's a method called context, or not a method, a variable called context, and I want to set that context to the main activity. So I'm going to say main activity.this, and well, if we can actually cast this to a context just to make sure, but this will be the context, then will be the main activity. So the variable context will basically now have a link to the main activity. So now let's just go back to my play service. And actually we don't need that context anymore because we can directly get it from the application class. Okay, so what we've done in the my play service class is you just set up this my or music stopped listener. Now in order to set this one up, we're going to go into the onStart command, and maybe somewhere here we'll just set it up. So it's going to be the music stopped listener, and I'm going to say equals, and I'm going to cast this now to a music stopped listener, and I'm going to add application class dot context, and that's now basically getting a connection to the main activity. And the main activity is a music stopped listener because the main activity implements a music stopped listener, and that's why we can cast it to that specific one. Okay, so now we've got this music stopped listener is basically a connection to the main activity now, and in the main activity there's a method called music stopped, and that's the only method we can call on this object called music stopped listener. Okay, so now where are we going to use this now? So if you go down in the onCompletion method, as soon as it stops playing, we want to basically call that method right here. So we'll just say on that object, music stopped listener dot, and you can see there's the method on music stopped. So what will happen now in the main activity implements the music stopped listener, which means it must have this method on music stopped. In the main activity also, we set the context variable in the application class to the main activity. So in the myPlay service, when we create a new instance of the interface, remember you can't create an object of the interface, but you can create an instance variable. And then by saying the main activity needs to get linked to this music stopped listener, we now have a connection to the main activity. And now on the main activity, we call the method. Where are we now? We call the method on music stopped. It will go to the main activity, call the method on music stopped, and it will set the play button again. Okay, I'm going to click on the play button again, and as soon as the music starts playing, I'm going to leave the music and see if when it stops, if it actually gets back to the play button. Okay, so there it starts playing. Now you can see that I can move away from the activity and the music is still playing. So it's something that plays in the background now because we're doing this in a service. So I can go outside of my activity and come back, and then it's still playing. If I click now on the stop button, it will stop. But let's see if it stops on its own now. And when it stops, you can see there the play button just came back. And that now happened because of this music stopped listener.